This is Rob Pirie with the Coffee Runs Deep podcast, where we interview coffee farmers, coffee roasters, and we share their stories. I truly hope you enjoy the experience. What's going on, everyone? Today we have Jorge on the show, who is a coffee hunter that lives in Guatemala. He has a coffee lab down there, and we dive into his sample roaster, his dealings with the farmers, Starbucks, importers, and processing of coffee, and his upcoming travels to the U.S. I hope you enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Coffee Runs Deep podcast. I'm your host, Rob Pirie. And today we have a special guest from Guatemala on today, Jorge Ciciliani. Ciciliani. Jorge Ciciliani. So let's dive into your journey, my friend, and tell us about your experience and kind of what you do.
Great. So I start 14 years old in this world. I start in a coffee shop like Starbucks, but in Guatemala, the name of that coffee shop is P Cafe or N Cafe. And I start working there like vacation work, just for vacation. And got in love with coffee in that moment. And I know that's going to be my work or life. So I start working there at 14 years old. Right now I'm 24. So I have like 10 years of experience right now. And I work there as a barista manager. And then I start working in Paradigma Cafe. Paradigma Cafe is a coffee shop, or it was a coffee shop in Guatemala. The owner was Raul Rojas, World Barista Champion on 2012. I started roasting coffee there. Then I was the manager of the coffee shop and also the manager of the roastery. And then my last working coffee was in Onyx Coffee Green Waters. So I was the manager on coffee quality there. So I work as a quality control specialist. Right now, I'm working on my own company named Pergamino 502. And I want to have like the best coffees here. So I sell that coffee to my company, my other company named Stinita. And I have a coffee roasted there. And here in Pergamino, I roast coffee. I help farmers to increase the quality of the coffees. And also I do classes, I teach coffee. And so also how do you say that? So there are persons that want to import coffee into another country. So I help that persons to do it. And that's a little bit of what I do.
Yeah, that's a lot. Holy moly. So you started working at 14 down there?
Yes, I started working at 14.
Okay. Is that kind of like legal and everything? Well, for y'all?
If my parents give the permission to the company, yes. So my mom signed a paper. So I was working there for a few months. Then I stopped the work because I started the school. Then when I graduated from my school, I started working again there. And I was the manager at that moment.
Okay.
At 18 years old.
Gotcha. Is there a lot of roasteries down there, or was like where you was at kind of one of the only ones or something like that?
So when I started, there are no more than 10, probably. So specialty coffees. And right now there are a lot of people who roast coffee. The specialty coffee is growing up here.
Yeah. What do you think the change is? Is it like is it easier to access roasters, or just, the internet and people kind of learning to roast on their own down there, or like what's making it kind of more move in that direction?
So I start working and I start roasting on Paradigma Cafe. Paradigma Cafe, Raul learns in all the trips that he do when he went, and he teach me. And there are persons who use the internet to know a little bit more about how to roast coffee. But also there are persons who goes to another country to take courses. So, for example, I take courses with a CA on green beans and how to brew coffee.
Gotcha. And the company that you co-founded, what is that?
So, Pergamino here, so the issue that we have in Guatemala is that more than the 98% of all the coffee goes to another country. And the 2% that we have here is not specialty coffee. There are all the coffees that are not from a great quality. And that was one of my issues because at the moment I was working on Onyx Coffee, I learned that there are a lot of great coffees. Probably a producer can produce like 15 bags of coffee, and that 15 bags of that uh, great coffee, probably 87 in SCA goes to US, and here we don't have anything of that coffee. So I found Pergamino because I want to buy that coffee and sell it here in Guatemala. That
I
was
figured y'all just had like easy access to it. So they ship most of the specialty coffee out. And so what do y'all have? Kind of more of the commodity grade that's kind of left then?
so here we don't have access to that coffee because first Guatemala have like a normal person in Guatemala drinks like 7 cups of coffee each month. So there are not people that drink coffee here. So I start uh, that because I want to teach that we have a great quality coffee here in Guatemala, and we have the opportunity to drink it fresh. So that's the reason of Pergamino. Keep the quality coffee, the great coffees here, and give it to the Guatemalan persons.
Is the older generation, so they don't drink much coffee? Do you see the younger generations like yourself coming up and drinking more? Are y'all kind of, I guess a new wave of coffee drinkers coming onto the scene?
Yes, right now, people like me start teaching other people, and the other people are learning that we have great coffee, and they start looking for the best coffee shop in Guatemala and take a fika time at coffee and goes there and not drink, for example, Starbucks. Here we have also a and cafe, and barista coffees. So that's like the commercial companies. So people are looking for specialty coffees.
Gotcha.
So
So
yes, it's growing up right now.
that's cool. So do you still do anything with Onyx or not?
So right now I have just communication with the team because one of the things that I do is have great relations with people, and I love relations. So more than my uh, persons who I work with that are my friends. So yes, I still working with him in some way.
Gotcha. And what exactly, like, so for a company like Onyx, how exactly are you helping them, or what are you kind of doing with them, like as far as like collaboration or whatever goes?
So for example, in a moment, like the only collaborations I can have with them right now because I don't have too much time is start with the manager of quality control and increase the quality again. And the new things that I learn, I teach them. So that's the things that I can help with Onyx right now. Not too much.
So let's kind of dive into that then real quick. So what is the quality control like for its green coffee?
So here in Guatemala, we have different issues. The first issue, so if you see, I have a green coffee sample here. And this coffee sample producer gave me to me so I can evaluate them and see how's the coffee. And if I want it, I can buy it. And the issue here is that the producer at the moment, they give me the bag, the quintal here. Probably they can give me another coffee. So that's the big issue. that the coffee that they offer to you at the first time can't be the same at the moment you grab it on Quinta Quinta.
Gotcha.
So the quality control that you need to know is, for example, what variety is, the moisture content, the water activity content, and also the process and how many defects can have a coffee. For example, Onyx buy coffees for 5 secondary defects and 0 primary defects.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's
Okay.
the quality control that we need to have, because the issue is that the producer wants to have more money. So they can give the low quality coffee because we don't know about coffee. And he sell like the first rate coffee. So the best quality coffee. But if I tell the producer that it's not the same coffee that they offer to me, the producer going to say, "Oh, sorry, I have an issue. Probably one of my workers do something wrong. Let me see if I can change it." So that's the reason of the quality control process.
Gotcha. So as far as like the farms down there and like who you're kind of dealing with, are they smaller farms or is it like kind of larger scale farms that are producing the
So
coffee?
there are the biggest part of the producers are little producers, no more than one container. A container can have 270, 257 bags of coffee. And probably a normal producer here can have a production of one container on half a container.
Okay.
But also there are big farmers that can have 9 containers, 60 containers, or 30 containers.
Oh, wow.
But the biggest part are really small producers.
Gotcha.
Not like in Brazil. In Brazil, they can have farmers of hundreds of containers. Here,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I've heard about Brazil as far as like just the mass amount of land area they have to produce coffee and just
Yes.
it's just a huge numbers game down there.
Oh, also, something really interesting of here in Guatemala is that the farms are no plain. Farms here are like in little mountains, so is we have not too much access to the plants, so people needs to go there and pick the coffee manually.
Right. You
And the
can't have like
difference in
machines
Brazil,
go up there and do it for you.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's the reason that also Guatemala can have good quality coffee, but also one of the issues that we have is that the person who picked the coffee is like is not a, for example, you can for one quintal is 100 pounds. So the person who picked 100 pounds of cherry coffee can have like no more than $10.
Gotcha.
So people want to have, for example, 2 quintales, so 200 pounds. So they pick green coffees, green cherries.
Mm.
So that's the issue.
Like you're in kind of the green education and stuff like that. Do they have anybody going to the farms and like helping to educate, or do they kind of already know it's just not like happening?
It's not happening because one of the issues that we have also here is that persons who buy coffee, they want the producer don't know more, because if they know more, they can sell the coffee in a higher price. So that's the reason that person don't want to teach producers so they can buy the coffee in a less price.
When you're
But
saying like person, do you mean like importer, like like one of the importer companies?
so I think that the importer is one of the last person who have the coffee. First, there
Gotcha.
are the coyotes. Coyotes. I don't know if you know what's a coyote.
I'm somewhat familiar with it. I imagine it's like the people who go and buy the coffee from the farmer and then kind of upsell it to the mill or wherever it's kind of being pushed to. Okay.
That's correct. So the coyote here is one of the problem because, for example, I have a coffee from a farm in Huehuetenango. So, imagine I'm in Guatemala City. So if I want to go to that farm, I need first to take a bus, and that bus can take like 9 hours to go to Huehuetenango City. Then that farm is 9 hours away from Huehuetenango City. So from Guatemala City, I need to take 18 hours to go to that farm. And probably that farm doesn't have a pickup, a car to transport the coffee to the mill. So that's the moment that the coyote entered to the negotiation.
Got
So
you.
they tell to the producer right now the coffee price is $1, just to say something. So right now the coffee is in the market at $1, and you don't have car to bring your coffee to the mill. So I'm going to help you, and I'm going to sell that coffee like in $1.50. So I want to have $1. So I'm going to buy you the coffee at 50 cents. So that's the issue. So the producer says, okay, you are helping me. I need money right now, and you're going to give me the money in this moment. And you're going to help me bring the coffee to the mill. So yes, take my coffee. And probably that producer at that moment, I know producers that the first time that they drink coffee, it was here in my lab. And he's the second generation of coffee producers. So probably they can have 20 years and probably they doesn't drink his coffee already. So that can take a lot of time. So that's the reason I want to go to the farms, teach them about coffee process, how to roast coffee, and how they can taste the coffee and sell it in a higher price.
Wow, that's pretty crazy. Do they have any laws or anything that are kind of against the coyotes or anything, or is it kind of legal to do that down there?
So there are two types: the legal and the illegal. Normally, the legal coyote, the farmer needs to go to the office of that coyote. So they bring the coffee from his farm to that mill. So they buy the coffee. It's like a coffee bank. So I have my coffee and I want money. So I'm going to bring my coffee to that coffee bank, and they're going to give me the price of the market. That's the legal one. They have permission to buy coffee and permissions to sell coffee. And they are the illegal coyotes that they go to the farm and they buy the coffee in a less price. And that's the only thing that they do.
Yeah, and I'm kind of thinking like, so the farmers, you go, 9 hours out, they probably don't have internet, right? Or do they?
No.
Okay, so
Probably they
can't get online and
phones.
check. Yeah, so they can't get online and really check the price of coffee or anything.
No.
So okay, so there's really no way for them to even know what it is. They're just going by the word of mouth, whatever the coyote says, what the price is.
Or for example, a lot of producers have his sons in US. So one of the sons called the producer and tell, okay, the price right now is $1. Okay, thanks. And the producer is thinking that the price right now is $1. That can pass 9 months, and he thinks that the price continue being $1, but probably it's $1.50. So that's the issue, because they need to wait until another person tell what's the real price right now.
Where would be the best place to kind of fix that? Like at the mill? Like, would it be, kind of to get with like the mills or something, have them go pick up the coffee from the farmers and give a correct price? Or would there be a business model for somebody to come in and create that type of infrastructure to go in and coordinate between the coffee farmer I mean, I guess that'd be like the coyote, but just in more of an ethical way.
So it's difficult to know what's the solution in that case. But in a moment, I was thinking that one of the solution can be bring one cell phone with internet to all the producers. That's the first thing that they can do, or we can do. So we can give a cell phone with internet and teach them how to know about the coffee price in this moment and who called in that moment to sell his coffee. And here the issue is that they don't have how to transport the coffee to the mill because roads are really bad roads.
Yeah.
So there is the second issue. So first issue is the communication. The second issue is the roads, and probably the third reason that the third issue is that they don't have how to transport the coffee.
Gotcha.
So we have a lot of issue right now.
Yeah. So like infrastructure seems like the biggest thing for the rural areas to kind of get up, but that's not that's going to be fixed, anytime soon, I imagine.
And also we have another issue right now because coffee grows only one time of the year. So the producers works just for 6 months, for example, and then they need to wait 6 months until the cherries grow up again. So during that 6 months, they can't produce more money. But right now, the government are teaching the producers that they can have different things, no different
Like crops.
fruits,
Yeah.
different fruits. For example, the avocado. So they tell them and they teach them and they says, for example, okay, right now coffee is in a low price. You don't have benefits with coffee. So I recommend you to take off all the plants of coffee and start grow avocados because you can have avocados all the year and you're going to have more profits. So the governments are looking to do another type of productions that is not coffee because coffee is too expensive right now.
Oh, wow. Do y'all eat many avocados down there?
So the the how, how I can explain it. So the avocado needs the same temperature, the same altitude of coffee. So the avocado is like I was talking with a producer yesterday, and he told me that a quintal, 100 pounds of avocado can like $2 per pound.
Yeah, I was about to say
And
they're expensive up here. Like, geez Louise, even like in Louisiana, like they're insanely expensive.
so here we can buy a pound of avocados at $2.
Okay.
And here in Guatemala, we can buy a pound of green coffee at $1, $1 and a half.
Is
So
that
we are
specialty or
talking.
is that like commodity grade?
So depends. For example, because here the people pay at the coffee market price to the producer. Then is the importer or the mill that give the extra price of quality. So normally the big part of the producers are on the market price, and it's not matter if it's a good quality coffee or a bad quality coffee.
So who determines the price of that? Once it gets to the mill, they determine if it's, specialty coffee or like commodity grade coffee, and then they upcharge it from there.
People like it. People like it. So for example, I have my coffee and I'm a green importer. So I want to sell you my coffee that I buy to another farmer. So I buy that coffee on the coffee market price right now is $2.30 per pound. So I'm going to give you one coffee sample. I'm going to ship that coffee to your coffee roastery, and you're going to cup it. You're going to cup it, and you're going to tell me, okay, it's a nice coffee. I really love this coffee. They have nice quality, nice qualities. So what's the price? So you tell me that you like it, and I know that you are a big roastery or you are a small roastery and you are in the US. So first, I need to increase the price of the shipping. I need to increase the price of the meal. So if I buy that coffee at $2.30, I'm going to sell you the coffee $1.50 more. Depends on the quality. If we have a really nice quality and you know it, and I'm not know it, I'm going to sell you $5 more. So depends on who caught the coffee. For example, I have my Q grader friend, and my Q grader friend told me that the price is 80, the quality of the coffee is an 85. So I'm going to see on market how's the coffee at 85 points, and I start my price there.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow, I thought it was a little more to it than that. So the farmer, regardless of what you buy it from the farmer, then they're only getting same thing for specialty or commodity then, correct?
Mhm.
So then the money is kind of being increased. So who would get that? Would the mill get that, or would I guess the buyer down there?
Depends. Depends. For example, I don't. You have a roaster, correct?
Right, but I don't. I just have like a little home roaster at the moment. I'm starting a roastery and
Oh,
stuff, and that's why I'm just kind of wondering, like, you know, whenever I start buying like bulk green and everything, the process, I want to try to do it, as close to the farmer as possible. And
okay, so tell me where you buy your green coffee.
right now, because it's, small amounts, either I do have some farmers send it to me. Mauricio sent me some. I've had some other, people in different countries send me some coffee. It's kind of more like the sample bag you just held up. But usually I buy my coffee from Sweet Maria's, or if I do buy in bulk, I'll get from like Coffee Shrub, Cafe Imports, and then if I'm
Okay,
doing samples and stuff, it'll be Coffee Bean Corral and some of the ones like that.
can you tell me about coffee imports right now? Coffee imports is one of the biggest company right now with coffee, with green coffee.
Right.
So cafe imports do so they need to complete contracts. So for example, I'm a big grocery in US and I buy I buy my biggest amount of coffee with coffee imports. So I tell coffee imports that I want all years one container of coffee and one container of Guatemalan green coffee. And normally I sell 85 uh, or plus to my clients. So I tell to coffee imports that I want an 85 points or more at this price. So if you can give me that price in this moment, I'm going to give you the money right now. And you can assure me that you're going to have that coffee to me next year. So so coffee imports need to complete that contract. So they're going to the farms or to the mills, and they are looking for 85 points coffees, and they need to complete one container at that price. So they need to move and know and see how they can complete that contract. If it's better if I go to the farm, or it's better if I go to a mill, or if I go to a greening potters. But go to a greening potter is like buy coffee to my competition. So I'm going to buy coffee to the mill. So that's the depends depends a lot on contracts. and the price depends a lot in countries. So, for example, if I buy coffee this year, I'm assured that the coffee is going to be at $2.30 per pound next year.
Right.
But if I buy coffee for next year to the next year, so for example, I want to buy coffee right now, but I want to buy that coffee for next year, so to 2023.
Right.
So I'm going to assure my price at $2.50, for example. So next year, when the coffee comes here, I'm going to buy it at $2.50. Doesn't matter if the coffee market price is higher or is in a less amount.
Right.
So
Yeah, you locked in at that futures amount. You're kind of hedging if it's going to go up or if it's going to go below. You're still locked in at that price that you agreed upon, last
yes,
year. Yeah.
but you need the money right now.
Right. So
And
you
if
got to
you
pay. Yeah. So you paying ahead of time, then locking in your price. And then next year when it comes around, it doesn't matter if coffee's doubled. You're still getting coffee for what you paid for on that futures. Yeah. Okay.
yes, and that's the reason that there are companies that the price doesn't affect right now because the price increased 40% from the last year. So last year it was a $1.50, and right now it's $2.30. But if you don't have money to buy a container of coffee 1 year before, you need to buy coffee for this year. So probably your price is going to be higher than that last year. That's the first reason that the price can change. And also depends on the amount you buy and the quality you buy, the price that the importer is going to give you, and also the time that the importer gives to you to pay. For example, Onyx, normally they can give between 30 days and 90 days to pay that coffee that you buy to the importer. But there are importers that they want the money at the moment you receive the coffee. So there are a lot of forms to buy coffee.
Yeah. So say I buy a container of coffee for next year, and I don't know how much. I'm just going to throw out a number. So I put $30,000 down. I buy a container of coffee. I don't know how much it is, and then next year I get the coffee and it's nowhere near what it should be. Can you get a refund on it, or are you just eating the
So
loss kind of?
at that moment depends on the negotiation that you have with the importer.
Gotcha.
So first, the contract needs to say what quality of coffee you want, how many defects you want at the moment you receive the coffee. But at the moment you receive the coffee doesn't match with that contract, you can tell to your green importers that you are not happy with that and you don't want to buy that coffee, but you already pay it. So how we can work with it? So you can go to a negotiation and tell, okay, give me 30% less of the price that I buy it. Or for next year, you can give me the same price of that coffee because probably at the moment you receive the coffee can be $2 more than the last year. So you can tell to the importer that you want the coffee next year at the same price of 2 years before.
Gotcha. Okay. So you really just got to make sure your contract's tight then. If when you're dealing with coffee, kind of that big, then.
Yes, the contract help you like producer or importer, also help you like buyer.
Gotcha. So it seems like the farmer doesn't have much say in the price then. I always thought like the farmer kind of dictated their prices more. So they don't. Okay. So it's more just based off like the C market, whatever it is. And then once the buyer comes in and they start matching up as far as scores
So
and stuff like that to kind of put a price on something.
there are farmers that can increase the price just because it's the farm of him. For example, I don't know if you know Injerto.
Who?
El Injerto.
No, I don't know him.
No. El Injerto is one of the biggest farm in Guatemala, in Huehuetenango, and is one of the commercial coffees in all the world. You know what's Cup of Excellence?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
so they win Cup of Excellence, I think, 13 times
Oh
right
wow,
now.
okay.
So they are one of the best quality coffees in Guatemala in general.
Gotcha.
So they can, one of the coffee that I taste for them was a Pacamara natural process. And the price they sell is like $30 per pack.
Oh wow. And so that's the farmer at that point making that price then, correct?
Yes, but in this case, the roastery looks directly with El Injerto, with the farmer. So they go directly with the farmer. Normally they sell all the coffee to roastery directly. They doesn't have like a broker.
Gotcha. It seems like, for larger roasters that do multiple containers, it seems like it'd be more economical to almost like get in with a farmer that they really like their coffee. And even if they got to help them, move the coffee from the farm to the mill and work directly with that one farmer, it seems like it'd almost be worthwhile doing that. Or do you see anybody kind of doing that now or no?
So no, because the prices go really high. The prices can go really, really high.
Gotcha.
So you need to know that if you want to help the producer, your coffee going to be $5 more expensive because you need to pay your air bill to Guatemala. Then you need to pay a pickup to go to the mill, to the farm, and then to the mill. And rent a pickup is really, really expensive. So you need to buy a pickup if you want to decrease
Yeah. Decrease
decrease the
yeah.
price, decrease the
Okay.
price, or you need to work with another person, but that person needs to have his money. So at the end, the prices go really, really high. So if you want
Yeah.
to help the producer, the prices go up.
Yeah. So what is anybody kind of doing anything to kind of help like give some of the, more of the upside to the farmer? Is it kind of, what do you see down there with that being kind of any help with that?
So I can talk by myself because right now I'm helping producers. Yesterday I was with one of my biggest farmers, but when I say biggest farmers is the farmer that sell me biggest amount of coffee. So I was helping them because last year they took a class with me, a master class, for example. They took a master class with me, and I teach them that if they sell the coffee in cherry, they're going to have, for example, uh, less than 50 cents per pound, less than 50 cents per pound. But if they process the coffee, they can sell the coffee at $2 to the market price. So I talked with him, and this year he talked to his grandfather, the owner of the farm, and they tell him, "Okay, granddad, I want to have my, I want to have 30 bags of coffee this year. Give me these 30 bags of coffee and let me process this coffee and let me sell this coffee with a higher price." So the granddad tell him that yes, you can do it, no worries, until you pay me. If you pay me, not issue. So they process the first 30 bags and they sell me 15 bags this year. And the price it was high. So he see that the price go up, and this year he wants to produce more. He wants to process more. So he talked to the grandfather yesterday, and he tell him that they want the double for next year. So next year they're going to process uh, 60 bags of coffee, and at the end they're going to have, for example, uh, 40 bags of green coffee. So the granddad going to be happy, and probably in 3 years they're going to produce and process all the coffee because they are looking that the price go up. So I was happy because I teach them. I I teach him, and he wants to go up. So that's was I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, that's super cool, dude. And it seems like that's kind of one of the bigger things down there is just like getting the education out to farmers and stuff like that. And it's hard to believe, like, I guess there's a lot of work in the processing part of it. Do most of the farmers know how to process their own coffee down there?
If they have the mill, yes. But if they don't have the mill, they need to bring the cherry coffee to a mill. They pay him to process that coffee, but they don't have access to do experiments with his coffee. So depends of if the producer have or no have it.
Gotcha. So if the farmer's processing their own coffee, um, does a buyer just buy it directly from the farm at that point, or does it still have to go somewhere?
So depends on the producer, on the farmer. Depends on the farmer because at the end the logistics cost money. So if they don't want to do a lot of logistics, they're going to sell to the coyote.
Gotcha. Okay.
But if they want to do a little bit more work, they're going to see who can pay more for the coffee of the farmer.
Gotcha. Okay.
But
Wow.
here, the issue that I have is that first, I don't have too much time to go to each farm and teach all the farmers. So I can teach all the farmers that want to be teach. But for example, if a farmer tell me that he doesn't have money to pay me, I tell him, no worries, give me a little bit of coffee and I'm going to teach you. So my classes, I so to tell you, yesterday the producer gave me 5 plants of coffee and gave me like 10 pounds of green bean.
Okay.
So that was my price. That's my price. But at the end, I don't want that. I want to teach them. I
Yeah.
want they produce a great coffee and then they can sell that coffee to me. And I'm going to buy that coffee in a good price. And I'm going to look how I can sell that coffee with a fee, for example.
Yeah. So as far as like your sampling, so like I'm sure you sample their coffee and stuff like that. Are you doing it on your M3 back there, or do you have like a different sample roaster that you use? Or
I use my Kaleido. I use my Kaleido.
okay,
So I buy this coffee lab to teach people, but not just farmers. To teach also a normal people that they want to know a little bit more about coffee. So I want to create culture here.
gotcha. What's the size of that little roaster in the back?
So it's a pound. I can roast 100 grams and a pound.
Okay, cool. That's a good little size. Sample roaster then.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like a coffee roaster.
yeah. Can you bring it with you, or is it you pretty much just leave it there then?
I leave it here because it's a little bit expensive,
Yeah.
but I have that case to bring it to the farm or bring it to another country. So that's the reason that I buy it a little bit small.
Gotcha. Okay. So as far as like any organizations, do you work with any or do you kind of like support any of the fair trade, rainforest alliance, or organic or anything like that? Is that like common down there or not really?
It's common with the farms that sells coffee to Starbucks, just to Starbucks, and another little company that just buy coffee with foods certification or green forest certifications. But here the issue that we have with that certification is the price of that certification. So if a farmer wants to have that certification, they need to invest a lot of money. And the price of the market doesn't match with that. So they prefer to leave it like that.
I always wondered why, like, these organizations wouldn't price it low enough where it actually makes sense for the farmers, where they can actually pay for it. So, like I guess the farmers down there that support like Starbucks and stuff and that sell to Starbucks, is Starbucks kind of like funding the organization, the fair trade, to get those farmers certified, or is it the farmers actually putting it up?
No, is Starbucks who pays that.
Okay.
Is Starbucks who pays that, but you need to complete some norms all the year. And probably a person of the certification come to the farm and see if everything is working correctly. But if, for example, the Starbucks doesn't allows childs work on the farms, normally childs needs to be at school. And if they they have a person from Starbucks comes to the farm and they see a child working on the farm, they're going to stop the contract with that farm.
Oh wow. Okay.
But
I imagine that's
here,
pretty common, right? Having like your kids and stuff work on the farms with you.
yes, that's really common
Yeah.
because at the end they need to pick the most quantity of
Right.
coffee so they can bring more money to his family.
Yeah.
And child knows that they need money, so the parents tell him that okay, uh, please bring me this type of cherries, and the child is going to pick that ones that are on the at the hand, and they're going to bring that cherry to the parents, and they're going to bring that back to the person who pays him.
Gotcha.
And the issue here is that also the farms at the end they work with child because the parents wants that their child work with him. So, for example, a farm that works with Starbucks, probably the person of that farm knows that the child are working there. And at that moment, a person who works with Starbucks and they go to that farm, the policeman, they're going to give a signal to someone on the farm and it says, okay, someone of Starbucks come here, please bring all the child to the school.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
the reason that the certification doesn't work.
Gotcha. Um, what do you think of Starbucks down there? Like, do you think they're uh decent, or what do you think of them?
So I love Starbucks. I love Starbucks because thanks to Starbucks, I have a job people in all the world knows about coffee thanks to Starbucks. And Starbucks normally they pay a good price to the market, to the farmers. They pay a little bit higher from the market price. And also they look they looked at the farm is in really good in a really good quality farm. It's a really good quality farm. Normally Starbucks buys a good quality coffee. Normal. And I think that Starbucks help us with that, increase the quality of coffee and increase also the life of people who works on that farm because also there are like persons in a farm that doesn't work with Starbucks, they pay to that picker like $10 per quintal. And as the farm who works with Starbucks, probably they're going to have $2 more. They're going to $3 per quintal. So that's the reason I love Starbucks. The reason I don't love Starbucks is that they roast the coffee in a bad way. And the
Gotcha.
quality of the coffee they buy is not the same with the roast that they use. But in general, I love Starbucks.
Yeah, that's cool. I always kind of wonder that because you always, in the States here, you always kind of hear all the bad stuff about Starbucks and you hear a lot of good stuff too. But a lot of times because they are the giant, everybody's always trying to bring down the giant, so I always kind of like to hear what other people think about Starbucks, like, in the producer countries and stuff like that.
So probably if you ask the same question to another person who works on specialty coffee here in Guatemala, they're going to tell you that they doesn't like Starbucks in general. And you ask them why, and they're going to tell you that the reason they don't like it because the way they roast is not the correct way. But that's the only reason that they see, and that's the reason that they doesn't like Starbucks. But there are more than the way that they roast that coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So what are your goals going forward? I mean, you're pretty young, 24. What's your plans?
So one of my plans are teach. First, I want to be a coffee hunter. Right now, I'm doing that. You know
Real
what's a
quick,
coffee hunter?
real quick. What is I see a lot of that on like Instagram. What is a coffee hunter? Exactly.
So coffee hunter is someone that goes to the farm or talk to the farmers and cut the coffee of that farm.
Gotcha.
And if they taste something really amazing or something that you are looking for, I'm going to buy it and sell to you. So that's a coffee hunter. I'm going to sell the coffee that you want. And I'm going to look the coffee that I see. It's a good quality coffee, something really special. So
Okay.
that's the definition of coffee hunter.
Gotcha. Okay. So what's your plans and what's your goals?
So right now I'm a coffee hunter, but I want to be a bigger coffee hunter. I want to go to US, for example, and talk with you. And when I say you, it's
Yeah,
all
everybody.
persons in US,
Yeah.
every yes. So
Heck
I'm
yeah.
going to go with you and I'm going to ask you what are you looking for? And what's the price are you looking? And what's the quality of the coffee that you want to have? And I'm going to come back here to Guatemala and I'm going to look for that coffee that you are looking. And I want to sell coffee in all the world, not just Guatemalan coffees. I want to buy coffee from El Salvador, Costa Rica, Colombia, Brazil, Ethiopia, from all
Okay.
coffee
Gotcha.
producers. And I want to give you the coffee that you are looking. And I'm doing that just in Guatemala right now. I'm selling coffee to little groceries and little coffee shops. The issue that we have is that, for example, I have my coffee shop and I want to teach all my customers about quality coffee and about the difference of varieties and the difference of process. But normally, the farmers sell you a quintal, 100 pounds, and I need to pay at the moment I receive the coffee. So, for example, if you want to have 5 different coffees, I need to buy 5 quintales, and the price of that 5 quintales can is the investment of that is really really high. So what I'm doing right now is I'm buying that 5 quintales of the best coffees that I have, and I sell to the coffee shop or to the roastery that they want to have different type of coffees. I start selling at 20 pounds. So they can buy 5 different coffees in one quintal.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool.
And
Heck yeah,
also
dude.
I want to teach about coffee in all the world. I want to have a like TED speech. I don't know, like TED Talks of coffee.
Oh, Ted. Yeah. Okay.
I want to have that. And also I want to teach you like a roaster how you can be sure that the person who sells you the coffee going to give you the quality of the coffee you are looking for, and also how you can be sure that the person who buy that who sell you the coffee is the same coffee of the farmer that they are telling that is the farm, for example. Because for example, I can give you this bag of coffee, like a sample bag, and I'm going to ship to your roastery, and I'm going to tell that it's El Injerto farm. And how you know that it's El Injerto and not from another farm?
Right.
So I want to teach you also that how you can be sure that the coffee that you are looking is the same coffee that you're going to receive.
Okay. How would you do that? Is there ways you kind of like look at the coffee and stuff like that? How would you know you're getting the same stuff?
So there are a lot of ways that you can be sure that the coffee that they offer to you is the same coffee that you receive. For example, in the contract, you need to specify that the coffee is from El Injerto. And at the moment, that person who sell you that coffee, they need to pass with Anacafe. Anacafe is the association of coffee in the national way.
Gotcha.
So I'm going to to export the coffee I buy from El Injerto. So I need to tell to Anacafe that that coffee comes from El Injerto. But you can't sell that coffee from El Injerto, but they come from another space. So you need to know about the contract, you need to know about Anacafe and a lot of things more.
Gotcha.
Also, you can talk directly to the farmer.
Yeah.
I can give you the contact of the farmer, and I can teach you how to talk to the farmer and how be sure that the coffee that they offer to you is the same coffee that you use.
That's super cool.
Because at the end here, I really like people like you, because at the end, the, the quantity of coffee that we produce, we can't buy it here. We need to sell it in another countries.
Gotcha.
So I want to teach people who buys that coffee how to be sure that the coffee at the end is the same coffee.
Yeah, I think that'd be, I mean, I'd love to have like a class or something like that, or, go through a class like that. That'd be super valuable. Have you ever thought about putting out any like YouTube videos on how to like do that, or doing like a course, offering a course online or something?
So I think that courses online works, but not in coffee.
Not in
Because
coffee?
coffee, because you need to taste coffee,
Yeah.
to taste the coffee. You
Yeah.
can't, because you know that coffee is science. So I can give you a green coffee sample, and this can be 85 points coffee, but I roasted in a calid, and I use an eco filter water. But if I give you this coffee sample roasted in my machine, you're going to have a different water. So the taste of that coffee is going to be different, and the water that you are using probably can uh, they can like my 85 can be an 83 for you because I'm using a different water.
Right. Yeah, I've often thought about that too. Like you got to have every variable correct, because if you roast it, just completely dark and burn it, if you're using, your grinds off, I mean, all kind of things, and then all of a sudden your scores off. So
Yeah,
you got to make sure you're educated on all those variables and how it impacts that score, the taste of that coffee. And yeah, I can definitely see how if people are buying and they're not too educated on it, how the score, what you're saying it is and what they're thinking it may be, can be completely different.
so what I do when I sell coffee to my coffee my little coffee shops, I bring a coffee already roasted and I taste the coffee with the water they use, and
That's a
we
good
taste
idea.
it at the same time.
Yeah.
So at that same time, I can tell to the person who buy me the coffee that these are the characteristics of my coffee. So I'm giving you this coffee, and we can roast a coffee at the same time. So you can have the coffee I roast at the same time with you, and the coffee I already roast, and we can see the difference. And if there are not too much difference, I can be sure that I'm giving to you the same coffee, and the person who buy me the coffee knows that it's the same coffee.
Yeah. That's a good
So
idea.
that's and also I teach persons, I teach the owners, and I teach the people who prepare the coffee of tinitas, my coffee already roasted, because I can sell to that restaurant a good quality coffee, but they are using a ratio of 12 grams per. Uh, they are using a ratio of 112, for example, and the ratio I recommend is 119.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, definitely people kind of like different strengths and stuff like that. I'm kind of like the 115, 116 range is kind of what I like. But heck yeah, dude. I wanted to kind of get in more of your roasting, but I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. And then dude, I want to have you back on. You're super knowledgeable about all this. So I definitely want to dive more into your roasting and stuff like that, but definitely want to have you back on. So anything you kind of want to share or end with, or plug or anything like that?
Yes, so I'm going to be in US in a few months, probably in 3 months. I'm going to be there.
Are you going to the
So
Milan thing?
no, no, I'm going just to know a little bit more about the culture of coffee in the US.
Oh, the
So
US. Okay, I thought you said
yes,
Europe. Sorry, my
no,
bad.
no,
Oh, you're
yes,
coming to the
US,
US.
yes.
Okay, cool.
So I want to go to Seattle. I want to go there because I know that is the center coffee.
Oh yeah.
And then I want to start knowing about the culture of coffee in US. Then probably I'm going to Canada, and then I return here to Guatemala. And next year I'm going to do another trip, probably a little bit more.
That would be cool, dude. Yeah, I think there's a ton of roasters up in the Pacific Northwest up there, and I mean you can get around pretty. You can get around pretty quick with all the transportation and Ubers and stuff now, and buses and all that. So yeah, that'd be super cool. Just visit a bunch of coffee shops, drink a bunch of coffee, and then you're gonna head up into Vancouver or what?
I don't know. I don't know. I want to take a train, an airplane, and walk a little bit and see if there are a grocery and go there.
Yeah, because once you're in
And
Seattle, it ain't that much further up into, cross the border into Canada, be in Vancouver, and uh
and And something that I want to do is, for example, go to a coffee shop and talk to the owner of the coffee shop and tell about my master class of how increase the quality control until they buy coffee and they receive it. So that's one of my dreams.
Heck yeah, dude. I tell you what, hit me up offline and I'll see who I kind of know up in that region. And I'd be happy to like link y'all up if you want to go talk to them or anything like that. So that'd be cool.
That can be amazing. Thank you for
Oh yeah,
that.
dude. Heck yeah. Well, shoot, dude. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up and hang on whenever we get off, and we'll talk about that. So, anyway,
Great.
thank y'all guys for tuning into the Coffee Runs Deep, and Jorge, thanks, buddy. Thanks so much for tuning into the Coffee Runs Deep podcast, and thanks Jorge for coming on and sharing your journey. If you would like to hit him up, I'll link his information below in the notes or the description. I truly appreciate my patrons who support this podcast. You guys rock. And please like and review if you feel so inclined to do so, and I will see you next week. Later.